Welcome back to another episode of the Lionstone Podcast. It's been a while since I've done a solo episode. I didn't expect to record today, so excuse the scraggly beard. I haven't been to the barber. I was working today. I had a call with a client. We brought up the topic of today's podcast, and I thought, fuck it, I'll just record a podcast. This could be 10, 15 minutes, and we're essentially going to go over dirty bulking. Now, this more pertains to men, because it's something that, as men, we have all done at some point in our life, trying to just get calories in for the sake of getting calories in. And, well, yes, it gets the scale weight up. Whether it has any efficacy is a different story. And short, cut to the chase, it doesn't. This still happens to women, though. Women definitely dirty bulk. I'm sure it's happened, but typically more pertains to men. That being said, though, everyone can listen to this because we will cover how to, I'll go over how to set up a successful growth phase, what the metrics you should be tracking, how you should be doing it, so on and so forth. But what is dirty bulking for those that don't know? Dirty bulking is just consuming as many calories as possible to try and get that scale weight to go up. They don't care where the calories come from, the source of the calories, whether it's McDonald's or chicken and rice, it doesn't matter. Just cramming food in every minute of the day to try and get scale weight to go up. Now, some people do have to do this. I will start with that. Some people have faster metabolic rates, they have quicker metabolisms, or they have such a physically demanding job that they need more food than others. Most people don't need that though. And even those that do need those kind of calories, if you're just dirty bulking, there's a fair chance that you're overestimating how much you actually need to eat, or you're just eating food, saying you're bulking and wondering why the scale weight's not going up and then pushing food even higher. It's because you're not tracking anything. The more you track, the more numbers that you have, the more you can manage and the better your decisions you can make, the more accurate changes to your decisions that you can make. So it's less subjective, it becomes more objective. You know, if you're eating 3,000 calories a day and your scale weight is sitting at 80 for 6 weeks in a row, you're probably under eating. You probably need to go to 3.5. You probably need to push your food up. We'll cover that in a sec though. But if you see me looking up here, it's because I've got the TV up with the notes on it because I don't want to miss anything. But essentially, what is the biggest con of dirty bulking? And that's going to be the excessive fat gain. Now, yes, body fat is going to be gained in a growth phase. That's inevitable. Calories are going to go up. You're in a surplus. You don't expect to go up 10 kilos of pure muscle in a growth phase. Some of that will be body fat, and that's okay. We can limit how much body fat is gained. That is the goal. The goal of a growth phase is to put on as much tissue as possible while keeping body fat as low as possible. And if we're just eating food for the sake of eating food to push scale weight up, I can guarantee you 99% of the weight you put on for your growth phase will just be body fat. You'll wonder why you look like shit. We'll cover that in a second though. The biggest thing here though is, well, yes, when you're in a state of higher body fat, it's going to make it harder to put on muscle tissue. But the biggest thing is that when you go back into a cut, you're going to have to go far more aggressive or for longer because you've got now more body fat to pull off. And if you're in a state of super, again, this is just going to be a rough, I'll cover this a bit in a sec, but if you're in a state of a big caloric deficit and for a very, very long time, chances are you're also going to eat into the muscle tissue you built too. Now, there's going to be different factors of this, whether you are using drugs, PEDs, you will have a higher tolerance or a higher threshold in order to keep that muscle tissue. You probably won't eat into it. Even in deep deficits. There will be a point though where you start to eat into it. It'll be far, far further down the line at someone that's natural though. So that's not an excuse to just start using gear. That's just for those that are using. I still don't dirty bulk while you're on gear because it's just a wasted effort. Now, trying to do it as fast as possible. That's the goal of dirty bulking, is to just get the weight on. Bro, I want to get bigger, so I'm just going to eat fucking McDonald's and KFC and just pack on the weight. Yeah, you can do that, but again, you're just going to get fat and just not look as good. So the mantra that I have in my head for any growth phase, and something that I think you should implement too, is slow is grow, fast is fat. Now, slower periods of time are going to, one, keep you leaner. You're also going to accrue more muscle tissue because you've actually got time to grow it and you're not in such a high surplus that you're just packing on body fat. Typically the numbers that I go for in terms of scale weight for men are anywhere from 200 to 500 grams per week is a nice set point. You'll kind of while I say that's an average because some weeks you will have a 500 gram increase, some weeks you'll only have 2. But if we're kind of falling between that 200 to 500 range, kind of that sweet spot of 250 to 300, we're in a pretty good spot. Provided that photos are being taken, this is another sec, monitor progress and adjust. So provided photos are being taken, weight's been taken, measurements to an extent too. We can like check body composition to make sure you're staying lean. And we can get on like I've had clients that have put on 10 kilos that are relative to the same level of leanness. They might have a little bit higher body fat, but with 10 kilos of gain, that's actually a good thing. That's like a really, really good outcome. Now, it provided you're monitoring your progress, you can then adjust the calories that you need. So if you're, like I said, if you're sitting at 3,000 calories and your weight hasn't budged in 2 or 3 weeks, probably means you need to either decrease your output, so decrease your steps. I want to touch on that too. But also probably just increase your intake. So go from 3,000 calories to 3,300, like anywhere from like I'd say a 2 to maybe 350 calorie jump, depending on like whether you're a male or female. We have a calorie calculator you can use for that. But just monitoring progress so that you can see whether you're actually moving in the right direction, you're staying still, or you're going backwards. And then you can make objective, data-driven changes rather than just going, don't look any bigger, time to chuck another pizza in. Doesn't really work like that. Energy levels and performance. Now, when we move into looking at training, training is going to be the driver of hypertrophy here. Like not the actual weight training itself, the effects of after it. Weight training is a stimulus to cause stress on the body, therefore the body has to adapt to it, which is where strength and muscle growth happens, like strength adaptations and hypertrophy adaptations, muscle growth. Now, that being said, if you're just eating shit, you're going to train like shit. So smashing a huge pizza right before your workout, sure, you're going to have heaps of calories to use, but you're going to also, I've eaten extra large pizzas before, and I feel like shit. So trying to go into a hard session, eating something like that beforehand, you wonder why you're going to throw up. It's not because you're training hard. It's because you feel like shit because you got a huge extra large pizza in your stomach. Calories can still be equated. So let's say you prefer to have 500 calories in your pre-workout meal. Instead of having it from some shitty food source, switch it over to something that's going to be easy, digestible, a little bit lighter. You can hammer down, wait an hour, let it settle, then go and train. You're not going to be able to do that with an extra large pizza. I've had pizza, I've had KFC, I've had McDonald's all before I train, done it there, been training for a long time, I've done it before, and I just want to go and have a nap. So probably not the most sound advice. But that being said, if digestion is poor and gut health is poor, the other thing here is you're going to start to ruin your ability to take nutrients out and use them where needed. So your ability to uptake protein and carbs and fats are all going to start to play a role in your inability to build muscle, inability to recover, inability to perform, inability to burn fat, and wonder why, like, fuck, nothing's happening here. It's because you've just absolutely ruined your ability to digest food and extract nutrients. Cost of cutting, I touched on this before. The fatter you get in a dirty bulk, the harder it is going to be to cut, and you are going to start to sacrifice muscle tissue. And the fatter you get, or the more body fat you put on, your ability to build muscle tissue starts to lessen. All right, so then let's touch on how we actually structure out a growth phase. I kind of did this a little bit here before, but again, focus on a calorie surplus. That's going to be one of your biggest things. In order to grow muscle tissue, or an optimal environment to grow muscle tissue is going to be in a calorie surplus. You have more calories than you need, therefore you can actually recover, and your ability to push training is going to be higher, but your ability to recover from those sessions is going to be higher, and you're going to have the food that you need and the calories that you need to actually start to repair muscle tissue, start to actually recover between sessions and push performance higher. So when we look here, I would say keeping the surplus at a moderate point of 200 to 500 calories above your maintenance to start with, and that's where it just comes into monitoring progress and adjusting as you start to make progress. So if you're if you're 200 calories over, so let's say your maintenance is 3,000, you're at 3,200, and you're gaining 200 to 300 grams a week, cool, you're probably in a pretty good spot. Just monitor your metrics, and then just check body fat levels by using photos and measurements and scale weight, and you can kind of see how you're tracking along. But again, if you're at at 3,500 calories and you're gaining 1.5 kilos a week, you're probably way above and you need to bring it back down. So again, you can use the calculator on our website. It'll give you some numbers, but again, a growth phase is going to be very much just cool, let's see if this works, and then we'll change if needed. So you'll get your starting number and then you'll adjust from there. Prioritize protein intake. Again, for muscle growth, protein is the building block. We've all heard that before. So just aiming for anywhere from 1.8 to 1.8 is on the lower side. 2.2 is the standard. The 2 to 2.4 is probably the standard that I go for a lot of people. If you're weight training quite intensely, that 5-day-a-week mark, you are using PEDs, you can go a little bit higher than that. But there's going to be a point where you get diminishing returns. If we look at protein intake, the more protein you eat, it doesn't equate to more muscle being grown. There is going to be a point where you just can't absorb as much, and it's just, they'd be better shuttled off to like carbohydrates or something like that, so you have more energy to perform. And it's an easier way to get calories up, because if you push protein too high, your digestion is going to be fucked because you can't go to the toilet. But also then the caloric impact of that, if you're just eating more protein for the sake of it, you are going to just push your calories higher and put on body fat. So keep protein at the threshold that you need in order to grow, which again, 2.2, 1.8 being the lowest side, more for women. Men probably don't need that low. 2.2, well, we'll say the range is 1.8 to 2.4 being maybe the upper echelon of that. There is different data suggesting different amounts, but anywhere in that spectrum, you're going to be pretty good. Proteins, supplements, I don't think you need them. Like, again, just like your general health ones are going to be good, but you don't need any like test boosters or anything like that because they don't work. Anything that can be bought from a supplement store that boosts your tests, it's going to be marginal amounts. Like, I could make a whole podcast on that. I probably will at some point. But again, monitoring progress to adjust, and then getting enough sleep. Sleep is going to be huge. That's where you recover. And if your sleep sucks, your ability to perform in the gym sucks, but also your ability to grow muscle tissue is going to suck because you're not in a place where you can actually recover. Your stress is going to start to increase, and you're just going to create this vicious cycle of lack of progress. Now, this is one that most people don't consider, is cardio. Now, some people, like I would say for 99% of people, some level of cardio in their growth phase is going to be super important. One, because it helps you stay healthy. Like, we're doing this, yes, we want to get bigger, but we also want to be healthy. So doing it to, like, I'm not saying you need to run a marathon every day or do 40 minutes on the Stairmaster. You can do 30 minutes of cardio a week and spread it across 2 15-minute sessions. One, just get your heart rate up to make sure you're cardiovascularly fit, which is going to come down to impacting your ability to perform in your sets. The fitter you are, cardiovascular, the faster you recover between sets and the harder you can push in sets, because your first thing to give out is not going to be your cardiovascular system. Before I started implementing cardio in my growth phases, I can tell you now that when I was doing things like leg press, the first thing to go would be my I'd be out of breath before my muscle, like before my legs would start to give out. So I highly encourage it. That doesn't need to be super, super intense. Like, you could go walking on the treadmill, walking outside. Like, steps are still a super important thing for one. In a growth phase, one for more just like they're not so much cardiovascular, they're just going to be increased output. But treadmill, bike, rower, Stairmaster, elliptical, like cross trainer, are all just, you could use all of them, honestly. Just pick one that you enjoy and stick to it. Don't overdo it. Don't do 4 hours of cardio a week while you're in your growth phase. But it also helps keep body fat levels in check too. So, dirty bulking, should you do it? No. Should you lean bulk? Yes, that's going to be your best ticket to success. If you have any questions, drop them below. If you're struggling with your training or nutrition, click the link below to book in a call. We'll have a chat. We'll get you set up for success. And if you want to figure out your calories, there's a link in the description too that will go through, that link you to our calorie calculator where you can plug your details in and it'll spit out some macros and calories for you so you can get started. Okay. Other than that, I hope you have a great one and we will talk soon.